Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha, this is Geebz here, your old composer here at the Decomposer Lounge with one of my slow burn sessions, and we are doing Faith No More. That was on that little poll that I did a couple weeks ago. Last week was 9 Inch Nails. And Faith No More I was made aware of really through the Mike Patton journey that I did about 3 months ago, where I did kind of a slow burn on him. He was one of the very first ones that I did. And so I looked up the journey of Faith No More and what they've gone through here up on Wikipedia and stuff. And one of the things that I noticed is that they were scheduled to really start coming back and doing some touring after their last album release, which I believe was 2015. And excuse me, Mike Patton apparently has taken a break due to some exhaustion, mental challenges and stuff like that. And so for me, this is kind of a dual super joy kind of moment, because I really became a fairly big fan of Mike Patton after learning more about him, and then of course his journey here with Faith No More. Excuse me. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out for this. There's going to be chapters down below. I learned from the 9 Inch Nails video that I did, those were like I guess they're called deep cuts, yeah? Music that's on the albums that didn't necessarily get the big airplay or something like that, but the true fans, they kind of hang through, the albums and stuff. They might not be their favorite ones, but, it's part of the whole journey of going through the discography. So you could skip through, boing, 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 boing. And then finally, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. You guys know when the advertisement plays, it's not for me, it's for Faith No More. They're publishing and stuff. So whether you buy the cup of coffee or you join us in Patreon, because Patreon's been very important to me as far as doing these shows, because of the fact that, I put out the polls, but then I bring the winners of the polls into Patreon, and the members help me with the choices. And it can be a little overwhelming, because when I get some band as exciting as Faith No More, and I've got all these members that are coming in with their lists, for me to sit there and try to say, oh, these are the ones that seem to be the top picks. It makes it really fun for me, because also what I love about that process is that I have people that really get really into describing to me, in footnotes, the chunks of the albums, why this is such a successful album, or this happened and stuff. So I get this great knowledge from people when it comes to these slow burn sessions, and excuse me. And then finally, before I start, I want to know. Oh, let me get my headsets. I want to know where you are right now as you listen to this. I love asking that question on all the slow burns, because I get some of the coolest responses. I had this one response that this one guy and his wife, I thought it was so cool, took a picture of them and their dog watching me on a big screen TV at home or something, like on a Friday or Saturday night, So anyhow, so enough of the yabbering. Remember, once again, if none of these songs are your favorite, only one or two are, take a look at the chapters down below. You can get right to it. All right. So here we go with our very first track from Faith No More. This comes from a 1989 album entitled Faith No More. And this is Woodpeckers from Mars. So we're doing Woodpeckers from Mars. Let's get on this. Thank you guys for hanging out. All right. Okay, before we get on to this, I mean, obviously they just gave me 2 minutes and 30 seconds of unraveling and then powering up this pattern that, you know, obviously starts with that string sound that they're playing there. I'm gonna just lean in a little bit in my ears and hearing experience that, you know, that the little strings or the string playing that was being done there. The way it was played and performed and everything like that. Very small and compact sounding. Doesn't this mix kind of sound kind of tinny to you? And that's not a bad thing. This was part of the great thing about a journey like this is when you can hear engineering and stuff change. This is 1989. Different ways of, you know, engineers doing what they do. You know, a lot of really super powerful guitar sounds, but it's not that super hard left, hard right stereo, even though it sounded like there was doubling guitar going on there. It has that Middle Eastern Moroccan kind of vibe to it, which is, you know, that whole, whether it's all the songs that have that kind of sensation to it, like Kashmir and stuff like that, it automatically kind of puts you in this kind of like, this kind of mode. I don't know why. I love the build-up of the drums and stuff, and as, you know, he starts off with the cymbals and stuff, and he starts to come in as it gets a lot more exaggerated. Before there was that other string-style breakdown, before this changeover, he's in with the toms and stuff. So they're really giving us a lot of time to really soak into it. But I really think it's really super unique when bands and artists and stuff like this take the opportunities to show a little bit of their just like musicianship, and that they want to just suck you into the whole of their performance. You know what I mean? They just kind of bring you in and get you into, excuse me, morning. First words that come out of the mouth make me cough up a little, choke up a little bit. Anyhow. Let's just go back. I just wanted to glam about that nice little string entrance and stuff like that came back in, and they brought us down again, and then now they're kicking us back up. So let's go ahead and continue on. All right, this was a super, super killer track, but I'm a little confused here because I'm looking at this playback page from Spotify, and there are lyrics here, and I didn't hear any lyrics or anything. It doesn't take away from, you know, the experience I just had with the song. But the bass was absolutely crushing. Do you hear when I talk about engineering, you know, in different types or different parts of decades and stuff like that? You notice that bass is really crispy and real powerful, and it's got teeth to it, but it doesn't have, and maybe it was the mastering or how this track was mixed, but there just seems to be, what's missing is the warm bottom aspect of it, and that's not a bad thing. This is just, you know, the whole album, I'm pretty sure, has that same kind of consistency with the EQ and everything. But there was no real super standout bottom end in the tonal aspect of it, you know. Yeah, kick, drum, bass, and stuff was going on, everything there, but it seemed to have just been a little bit more of a mid-range, mid to high mid, you know, in 2,500 to 5,000 in that zone, a little more boosted that way and maybe rolled off at the bottom. I don't know. I love the whole Moroccan Middle Eastern vibe of this whole thing, and I liked how they kept on sneaking back into that little string section that they had written and given us. So I'm thinking that Woodpecker from Mars is probably a prelude to something a little more better. But that being said, the next song is actually from the same album, and I decided to put this on here because it actually was very requested quite a bit. And then when I looked at it, I said, oh man, this is only a couple minutes long. So this is from the same album, and the song is Surprise, You're Dead. So let's do this. This is a short song, so I'm going to actually listen to the whole thing, not stop in the middle of it. I'll save my thoughts for the end of it, okay? So yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. This is Surprise, You're Dead. All right. my God, I love that song. I totally am going to have to listen to this again after I render this video out. I so dug that track. Love the meter change in there. There was kind of the, it had that kind of 6/8 vibe going there, and sometimes it's kind of, for a lack of better terms, I can't figure out another way to say it. Maybe people who are a little more prolific in music expression. But when you have something that's in 3/4 or 6/8, it kind of has that waltz, kind of vibe. It's kind of that's what that vibe. And then they go ahead and they square us off, and go straight 4/4 and really hard hitting. They flew through this whole thing. Just they were completely, pedal to the metal, and they were just grinding away with their riffs and stuff like that. Really, this is now bringing back something to me. You guys helped me out with this. Wasn't Faith No More also kind of coined as a genre-setting precedent? Not like metalcore or something, but it was this kind of composition in 1989 and stuff that may have started a trend of sorts. I don't know what it is. That's why I'm asking you. I listen to music, I do this, but I don't want to pretend that I know. God knows I can get completely smoked in the comments and stuff, but really super, super, super progressive meter changes and stuff like that, and syncopations that were going on in there. Now, something else I want to mention before we roll on is, now, did you notice how the bottom of this, it's off the same album, did you notice there was a little more bottom on this, on the mix and stuff, and the butt was really kind of rattling, the sole of the bottom with the bass? Of course, the difference is that a lot of times when, at least with my experience, when you have a bass like the first track that we heard, Woodpeckers from Mars, there's a lot of that power pounding, slapping going on and stuff, and usually that kind of playing, in some cases, they will emphasize bumping a little bit of the higher aspect of the EQ of that, so that the bitiness of the hammering or the thumping or the aggressive right hand of the bass player kind of cuts through, and they kind of sometimes sculpt out or kind of roll off the bottom end. In this case, they left it really big and fat. So this was really kind of cool, off the same album, but then we could really feel the bottom end on this. Excuse me. The guitar sounds were absolutely sick. And also, just before we go to the next track, I want to also emphasize that my ears, the way I love to listen to metal, in this journey that I'm on with you guys, is that I love it when engineers don't use the same exact technique on every song on a project, on an album. That they would change it around and do very unique things like that. In this case, the guitar tones are a lot more powerful and progressive sounding in this track than what we heard, or at least what I heard in Woodpecker from Mars. So, super cool beans. I was totally pumped on that. Okay, so the next track that we got is coming from the album Angel. What is this? Angel what? I can't read that. Angel Dust. It looked like Angel Lust for a second. My eyes and that cursive stuff. And this song is called Everything's Ruined. So here we are, on to the third song here of the Faith No More Slow Burn. All right, this is the song, Everything's Ruined. All right. Wow, this is bone crushing to me. Now, we're into a whole different album, obviously a whole different production and engineer, and the producing on this very, very unique. Do you hear the punchiness of the kick is really in our throat? So in the mix, usually the kick lives in a certain, of the drum kit will live in a certain pocket. It's always mono in 99% of the cases, and it lives in a pocket both percussively and tonally, and the bass aligns with it. But in this case, they just said, you know what, this bass arrangement is so powerful rhythmically to the messaging. Let's go ahead and let's just shove both of that up and make that really hot, make that the principal, driver of the track. And the melody on this is really super cool. Super, super cool melody on this compared to the first two tracks. Well, obviously the first one was instrumental. But I'm really digging the melody on this. And this little part that just came before this turnaround, this was a lot more of kind of the melody and that section kind of opened us up a little bit. Even though they kept that drive at the bottom, still pushing through, the performance aspect of it gave it kind of an atmospheric, wide vibe to it as the melody kind of got kind of a little more swimmy and stuff. And then they're bringing us right back down into this punch. But I don't know if this is the same bass player. You guys tell me if this is the same bass player from the first track. I noticed when I looked up on the Wikipedia that it looked like they were the same members through and through. But the only reason why I ask is because I'm not a journalist guy and I don't study that aspect of it. I just enjoy listening to music the first time with you guys here, so that's why I'd much rather ask you guys. And I love it when you guys respond, because then you guys also give me a little bit of your own energy in your comments and stuff. All right, so let's go. Let's continue on. Oh shit, this coffee's kicking in. I am just bzzz. I love that ending. You can hear the nuances of, the scraping and stuff on the string. There's so much I can say, but I don't want to go too far in the ramble mode here. I love the pad work that they're doing in the background. So that long synth sound that you hear, that kind of gives you the essence of warmth or string sounds. Obviously, what I really super dig about it is they started us off on such a rhythmical, bang up job with that bass line. And then, like I said, the engineering, what I was saying earlier, really gave it to us in here and in here. And the melodies, like I said, the melody was like was very melodic. For what it's worth. I think you know what I'm saying. And so it was very flowing, sing-songy and stuff like that. And against this, really intense rhythmical structure, I was really taken in by it. But then as it started moving forward, remember I told you about the turnaround that was coming around? It sounded nice and flowy and kind of wide and stuff. Well, they doubled down on that the second time around, because then you heard them holding the synth key or that pad down to give us that big wide sound. That kind of gives us that ethereal, ambient kind of vibe. I was reading the lyrics here, which I, don't necessarily always comment on lyrics and stuff, but this was really, really super clever lyric writing here. I'm not that good at like reading lyrics and then telling you what I think it might mean. But when I was reading it, I was like, the theater of the mind. I was getting, this is some clever shit going on there. But this track completely. This is why I got to thank my Patreon members for helping me choose these songs, because so far they've been, each one of these are so different. Which to me, doing what I do here for the show, is what makes it all worth it for me. Because I get completely, lit up with the depth of bands of which I would have never known. Because for all of us, for all of our favorite bands or artists and stuff, a lot of times we're spoon-fed, at least back in the days before the internet, who were older like me, we're spoon-fed, playlists off of radios and stuff. And then unless you buy the album, you don't get to have the access to the other cuts. So this is like a full, fire hose feeding of information. And the last thing I want to say is that I'm looking at the date here, and this is kind of like, it seems like they survived, if you would, the transition of the late 1980s through the grunge period, and to continue on, like kind of like did not get affected or impacted by that change. It seems like I'm just kind of, little stream of consciousness here. And I think it could be so because I hear little elements of what maybe grunge maybe pulled from them, possibly. I don't know how that works, but I'm hearing a little bit of the melodies or a little bit of use of chord progressions and stuff that I'm going, oh, that's really familiar, to some of the grunge tracks I've heard. So anyhow, Ya Dia. So let's get on to the next one. The next one is going to be Evidence from the album, I don't know. This is 1995. It just says Faith No More. But this is the track Evidence. So let's get it together. Hurry up. Get your drink of coffee, your beer, your libation, whatever it is that you're doing right now. Shift gears in your car. Chill out. Here we go.
Beside the piece of a circumstance, gotta wash away the taste of evidence. Wash it away.
was totally unexpected. This is so cool. This is, if you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, what do you really like, Geebz? You know, you're going on this journey with us and stuff, but this is my jam. This is my shit. This kind of composition. This is what I just go, oh. And what's great about it is that there's this airiness in the composition that allows itself, you know, by the texture of the thematic arrangement of this. So what I mean by that is, it seems like very detective, you know, private eye, kind of slicky, sexy, kind of like, God, there was this movie or this show back in the 70s called Shaft, you know, but very Motowny-ish and very cool and very like, yeah, I'm gonna get you kind of vibe. But, you know, for me to listen to the tracks that I've just heard, and we've got these metal and you know, experimental rock and stuff, musicians and stuff, and they go, hey, watch this. Really slick, super slick lines that they're playing on the guitar. The bass, of course, this bass player is just a bone crusher. Love the EQing of the drums on this one. Snappy, you know, a real snappy snare and kind of wide. And that kick, so far, these guys are really in love with just shoving you right here with that kick. But these sultry in and out arrangements that come in from the vocals that we just heard, those little background vocals we heard, the wah-wah kind of use of, you know, some of the rhythmical part of the arrangements and stuff like that. Love the sneakiness of the piano. And the whole thing is giving us that vibe of like, ooh, I'm gonna get you, motherfucker, you know, kind of a thing. And well, you know, the song is evidence, and I hadn't even really looked at the lyrics. I should be kind of looking a little bit at it, but I love this. This is my jam. I love this kind of stuff, and I love it when I get thrown a curveball when I'm listening to bands that I think this is okay. I'm listening to metal and rock, and then they slip something like this in there. You know, Periphery is great about doing stuff like that. Oh shit, what's the other one that I just did? Oh my God, Beyond the Buried in Me or something. They do tricky stuff like that, and I love this kind of stuff. Anyhow, yada yada, I yammer on. The coffee is strong.
Hands up your head and you won't even feel me. You won't feel me. I didn't feel a thing. You didn't mean a thing. In the eye, testify. Didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel a thing. You didn't mean a thing. In the eye, testify. Didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel a thing. You didn't mean a thing.
Oh my gosh, this was such a trip to listen to. I am so stoked on that. One of the things that I love, you saw me bouncing around with the little string lines they put in there. Now that I read the lyrics, you know, as I went through this song was so well crafted and so well produced lyrically. If their intention was to bring you back into that 70s, you know, Mission Impossible, Mannix, you know, what was the one that I just referred to? They did an absolutely fantastic job. You know, everything, the great rhythm guitar playing using the wah pedal and stuff like that. Beautiful voices with the rhythm. A couple guitars doing some really cool fancy things, you know, double stop playing, as well as some really nice lead work and stuff like that. Once again, I love the meandering piano that kind of slips in and out. There were a couple times where I just laughed out loud. You saw me because his voice went way down and really low, and I was going, "Oh, come on!" He had to hit us with a little bit of that Barry White kind of vibe, you know. And so, you know, for me, I just, excuse me, I just loved everything about this track. You guys tell me about it. I mean, look, I mean. Once again, is this considered a deep cut? Is this like one of their secret, like super secret hits that maybe didn't make airplay? I don't know because I didn't listen to the radio, and I've never obviously heard this song. But this had to have taken the fan base for a complete musical like Qua, kind of like a Heimlich maneuver. You know, like whew, they got this in their skill set thing. So anyhow, so we are down to the last track here. This is off of the album Soul Invictus, Soul Invictus, and the song is called Matador. So that being said, though, I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Please remember to tell me where you're checking this out and listening to it. I can't thank you guys enough for the comments that you leave on these bands, because I know that if you're sitting through one of these slow burns, you're true fans of the bands and stuff like that, and you enlighten me on some of the journeys and stuff. And this is always a pleasure to do. I really get a lot more involved in this because I have to do a little bit more to set up to do these shows. So I look up a little more, and now I figured out a way how to get lyrics on Spotify. So now I can start reading some of these things, which will really help me out with the metalcore and the heavier, you know, death metal stuff that I do. And since I don't understand, at least if I can catch the lyrics, it helps out. All right, guys. So thank you once again for your support. And remember, if you want to join me on Patreon, that makes a huge difference. Buy me a cup of coffee. The links will all be down below. Okay, I'm done with the pitch. This is our final song from Faith No More from the album Soul Invictus. This is Matador. All right. Oops. Let me start my my recording process. Here we go. Job opening. All right, here we go.
March forward.
Wow, this just never. It just every track has blown me away so far. Really, just the dynamic difference within each album and where they go in each album. It seems like, you know, they hit these marks that they want to with each album project that they do. And this is from 2015. And, you know, it's almost like they may have realized that, you know, some of their success, like in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, might have been based on particular ways of composition and stuff. But it's like when I love hearing stories with bands or artists say, no, we're not doing, just because the label might say, well, you got to do something like you did otherwise. It might not work. And then they take the risks that they do, and they are extremely progressive in their risk-taking in their arrangements. This is a great example of that. This kind of has, like, if you took a Danny Elfman type of storytelling and arrangement and composition, instead of it being all orchestral works, and really kind of drilling it down into this band, kind of into this vibe, into this kind of arrangement, this kind of spooky little piano chord stabs that are being played and the meandering that's happening around it and stuff like that. Really kind of pensive melody. And also when the vocals come in a little hotter and they really start to sizzle, the backgrounds come in, they're fully overdriven and they give you this real anxiety vibe. But I love the meandering of the melodies around those chord changes. You know, the guitar is actually doubling that, it feels like, it seems like. But there is melodic meandering going around this. And of course, a completely different mix compared to all the other tracks. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh, fucking A, the bass. What? You know, to me, the experience that I've had thus far here has been so eclectic and just so, like, mind-numbing. But I have to say, that bottom end, this is what the rhythmical arrangements of the bass are just absolutely stellar. Even in this, a lot of times, you know, bass and kick will lock. You know, the kick will hold a pattern, the bass will usually follow along sometimes. In this case, the kick is staying fairly kind of square, not too much going on, but the bass is really kind of, you know, duck diving in between, that's a surfing term. It's diving around, you know, where the kick drum is. But I think people just forget just how mind-numbingly important that the rhythmical musicianship of bass players, how important that is. Because when they're going off and around all the other percussive arrangements, be it vocal, guitar, drums, and whatever, these guys, they've got to stay in the pocket. Because if other musicians and stuff, if they kind of drift in and out of the pocket, you might be able to sense it. But if the bass drifts out of the pocket, you are fudged. And this is a killer example of great bass musicianship to me. And it's not taken away from the band. I'm just kind of glowing on it.
Back.
being that this is the last song, I didn't spend a lot of time glamming on the vocals and the performance on that, but I mean that's going to end right now. The melodic composition of the vocals of the lead, has never once got to a place where I was not aware of it within the song. So in other words, it was never boring. There was always something really just kind of, it's the power thread through these incredible arrangements that still, even though I didn't mention a lot about the vocals and the melody and stuff like that, it's just extraordinary. And here's something else I want to say about, the vocal performance and the engineering. Though there were some effects that were placed possibly on some of the background vocals to sizzle or overdrive because of that particular sound that they may have wanted to get out of this, the one thing I could really so appreciate about, even in the track that was, if this album was, 2015, in 2015, we have a shit ton of plugins as producers that we can take a vocal track and just send it through a plugin and double it, harmonize it, all kinds of stuff. What's that other thing that they accuse a lot of people of using where it fixes the vocals? I forget what you call it. I don't know what it is, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And definitely not using any of that stuff here. But what I want to drive at is I so appreciate that each one of the vocal lines and the performances on here just seem to be performed raw. So there's a lot of doubling that's going on here, like what we just, the ahs, let the dead live, ah. It was so raw and so natural and unprocessed sounding, it even gave it more life. Ironically, let the dead live. But the vocals were like doubled, but they're imperfected doubled. So in other words, the little intonation flex, not in tuning, but sometimes the volume of the voice changes. You don't hit every velocity identical. And that kind of performance to me just kind of solidifies the artistic pride, if you would, of bands that we're doing it this way. We don't need any trickery. We're 100%. We're doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Maybe we'll pull somewhere, do something, but it's not manufactured, if you would, through plugins and stuff like that. And I really, truly appreciate that. Guys, this was a great journey. Without a doubt, this was one of my best experiences doing the slow burn. I can't thank you guys enough for your comments that you're leaving here. Something's happening with the YouTube algorithm, so my videos are really tanking, but that's not why I do it. It's not about the numbers, but I so enjoy the comments. So please tell me once again, like I said at the beginning, where are you when you're listening to this? And also, share with me some of your favorite, thoughts about the tracks that I covered here. Obviously, for as long as I'm doing this is obviously going to never be the last of Faith No More, but this was a slow burn, so I'll take a breather for a while, come back and hit some more of their stuff a little later. And that's it. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you so much. Have a killer week. And remember, if you do want to support me, the cup of coffees, cool beans, and stuff like that. Patreon, you can come over for like just a month. And then I've got all kinds of videos and stuff on there. And you can just totally rinse and all that, get involved in a couple. Because every week I do one of these. So get involved in like 4 of these as far as, the slow burns and helping me pick out songs. And then you dig out after a month, That works for me too. All right, guys, listen, I got a long night ahead of me of rendering this. I'm going to go back and listen to one of these songs. I forgot which one it was, that super funky one, while I do some rendering. All right, guys, take care. Have a killer rest of your week. Aloha.